Hello, my name is Alex Urbanik. I'm a third year in the class of 2026 here at Marshall, and I'm part of the Ambassador program for AMBOSS, so I'll be here covering what is AMBOSS, how to use AMBOSS, the benefits of AMBOSS, and some other kind of integrations, as well as pricing. Um, AMBOSS is a very large resource to use. It has a library full of articles, questions, media such as histology slides and x-rays, as well as 3D models. So that's a lot of ground to cover, and I'll try to do it in about 10 minutes if possible. So starting off, we'll go to antibiotics such as chlorphenicol. You get a nice little brief summary here if you're just trying to look it up really quick, but then clicking on the article itself, you'll be pulled to this page. And so right here, you'll have a nice, brief and succinct amount of information that can still be modified a little bit more with these buttons up here. If we click on the high yield information, it lessens it even more. And then if we click on the key info little button, you see how it highlights and underlines in red. Furthermore, to make going through these articles a little bit easier, there's this nice panel over here that you can use to navigate. Instead of scrolling up and down right here, if let's say all these are expanded and you have this great wealth of information, you can use this to navigate. So moving forward, we can move on to something like a condition. In here, you see the same thing. You get a nice summary as well as some other headers that give you really pertinent information that you might want to know about. Not only do we have the high yield and key info buttons again, but now we get the clinician mode. And so that'll put all this in blue, and it gives you a little bit more clinical guidance and information about the disease itself. Always nice to have, and I usually leave this off unless I'm looking for this information specifically. So moving on to the third article we want to cover is it's going to be about DNA replication. So if we come here and click on the article, you'll see that there's integrated videos as well as into AMBOSS itself, as well as obviously integrated media. And then you saw a table earlier, but what the nice thing about these tables is you can do table quizzes. And so information that might lend itself to more repetition and memorization can be used to do these table quizzes. And so I really found that helpful during my time studying as well. And so the last little article we want to look at is Hodgkin lymphoma. So again, same old, we have this nice panel over here to help us navigate if we want more integrated videos, and this is kind of what I'm talking about. I love these x-rays because compared to something like Google, which may or may not have highlighted kind of indications, you can always toggle what you want to see in these AMBOSS x-rays. And so I found this very helpful because later on in your training, even in preclinical years, you'll have imaging that you have to, go through and, make connections to the question. And so another thing, these histology slides, you get the same feature and a brief description over here as well, talking about what's being highlighted in the yellow and the purple, the black arrows. And so I found this tremendously helpful for somebody that struggled with histology and still do, is that this definitely helped me at least get somewhat better at it. And so another nice thing about these articles is at the top of each one you get this QBank session. And so we'll specifically give you questions that cover this topic, which I found helpful at the end of the day if I wanted to hammer the material, or at the end of the week to make sure I, could go back and see how well I retained the information. And so, kind of in that same vein, if we're talking about what do AMBOSS questions look like, this is what a typical AMBOSS question looks like, at least in dark mode. Pretty much just like any other question bank, you have your highlighting tools. The other nice thing is you have these attending tips and the key information as well, so it can go back and kind of make sure, hey, this is what I should have been paying attention to in the question stem itself. Furthermore, if we just show all the explanations, it will give you a nice brief explanation as well as relevant media. And then for the correct questions itself, it'll obviously give a more expanded explanation as well as link you to the article that it's talking about. And then lastly, if we were to come back over here and go to QBank Overview, or a new custom session actually, some people get a little lost about how to build a custom session compared to something like UWorld. And so what I like to do is, this exam is very self-explanatory. This symptoms kind of little tab is also pretty self-explanatory. I leave all these checked. And then articles is where you're kind of be specific about what you're wanting to study and cover. And so myself and another student, Alec Phelps, would keep a running list of the articles covered in lecture on AMBOSS and then compare the two. That way we could have a nice big custom session for the, before the first test, before the second test, or even before the NBME. And so this obviously has a search function as well as it's organized in alphabetical order. And so it takes a little bit of time, but it's definitely very comprehensive. And then moving on to these over here, systems is something I keep checkmarked all the time, as well as discipline. And that might cover more ground than you need to, but you can always omit questions or try to answer them to the best of your ability and, reuse them later. So in AMBOSS, you have the difficulty scale, and so one hammer is something more of like a just quick, rote memorization, recall question, while 5 takes lots of systemic kind of knowledge and pathways and puts them together and represent that as being very difficult. And then status is very self-explanatory again. So moving on from that, I would like to talk about study plans a little bit. So study plans can be useful. I haven't used them as much third year, but they are nice in the fact that, I worked with a hand surgeon for my orthopedic week, so I made sure to do some orthopedic questions about the upper extremity. That really helped me, kind of get a little bit more of the ins and outs. And then some of my ones I did previously was for step 1, which I found very helpful as well. And then lastly, I did not cover this, but if you want to cover the 3D models, they'd be under videos and then 3D anatomy. And I won't pull one of these up because it takes a little bit of time to load, but you can remove structures, highlight. I mean, it's a full 3D model and what you would expect from, a 3D model itself. So then moving forward about some integrations of AMBOSS outside the website itself. AMBOSS just launched a ChatGPT, which is very helpful since sometimes ChatGPT itself will pull from odd sources or give sort of correct information, but maybe not the best information. And so this AMBOSS GPT that you get access to only pulls from AMBOSS vetted resources. And so as you can see here, I compared complete androgen insensitivity versus 5-alpha reductase, and it gives me a nice, table of information that I then can have a little discussion with it and get some more expanded explanations. And it will link you the articles right here at the bottom. And so another feature of AMBOSS is a Google Chrome extension. If this wants to load. So as you can see, things are highlighted in this light blue, and that can be easily toggled on and off if it's a little overwhelming. But what you can do is hover, gives a brief explanation, and links you to the article that is associated with it. And so I found this very helpful. It can even be used in other question banks and resources as well. And then that kind of flows into Anki integration as well. So if we were here to come do a card, we can see it has the same feature. And if I were to click on this in Anki, instead of bringing you to your browser, whether you use Chrome, Firefox, whatever, it kind of just brings it up in the side panel and keeps you locked into Anki itself. And this even has a search bar that you can use and keep you right here. And so another Anki integration that it has is on this question we answered, we can click this Get Anki Cards button and copy this. And if we come and paste it into the search bar, we get all the Anki cards that are associated with that question itself. And so you can get very specific and do this for maybe the cards you marked or missed, and really kind of focus in on your weak points. And so that's most of the integrations and expansions outside of the website. To talk a little bit about pricing. So this pricing up here is covered just for what you see right here. And what may surprise some people or catch people off guard is you only get a limited amount of questions with the regular AMBOSS membership, and so you have to pay for unlimited access for the AMBOSS questions per month. I think you're limited to about 40 per month. And so that might catch a little people off guard, but I just wanted to talk about it. And then AMBOSS does offer group discounts for students as well, which is a little bit easier than some other resources to get their group discounts. And so in kind of summary, I've really enjoyed AMBOSS. I use it even now in my clinical years, and I really enjoyed it for step 1 in the preclinical years. And I probably plan on using it into the future. If we go up here and look at this clinician mode, we can see that it incorporates more drugs, and we'll talk about dosages for different kind of syndromes or disorders as well, and gives you a lot more clinical relevant information. And so I hope you learned a little bit about AMBOSS today and enjoyed it. I greatly enjoy it, and if you have any questions, feel free to reach out, and thank you for your time and attention.